Alright, today we're ranking all 11 maps in the CCL map pool, and there's some very good maps. Honestly, there aren't that many bad maps in the pool necessarily, but there are a couple stinkers, so let's go ahead and get started. Coming in dead last is Yosemite in 11th place, and this map, I've played on this map a good few times, and it's really small. This is a rogue's nightmare, and you can see, in this video where I got 15 kills, I went 15-2 in episode 50, and that was largely due to the fact that I was Dwarf Toss and Crippling Fear. And those two skills together make me pretty annoying to fight if you're a rogue. And of course, a rogue's job is to rotate around the map and help team fights and capture mid. But this map is so small that rogues really can't do much of that. So it always just comes down to whose hold pause is better. And if somebody's running hold pause or bulwark now, that makes the fights on the low capture very, very annoying. And what I mean by that is, both sides, the low point is in a very enclosed space where skills like bulwark are naturally better, especially with cleave, and it's just so boring having to fight hold pause over and over and over, and it is a nightmare down on that cap. And the high cap is honestly not terrible, although I wish it was kind of easier for the defending team to capture it, given the proximity to spawn, but there's no good way to get up to it close to spawn, which I think was intentional. But even still, the map creator said that this map was supposed to limit Ranger's effect on the game, or marksman now, and but because the map is so small, what ends up happening is the marksman is still going to run trap shot, the marksman is still going to run incendiary shot, and just those sort of closer range skills that put in so much damage. And now that sharpshooter is fixed, I imagine this map is going to be even worse to play on. Just because, you can't just run D-stance into a ranger on this map anymore. It's like maps like this where short-range rangers with things like trap shot are going to be so much less fun. And it's like, the rogue can't really help because the map is so small. The crippling fear brute is constantly going to mid. And it's like, what are you going to do against that? And even though the map is supposed to hinder Rangers' potency, they're still putting in insane amounts of damage on mid. So it's like the rogue is just sort of suffering all throughout the game. It's like they just kind of run around and occasionally help when they can, maybe take a 1v1 when there's nobody else around. That's kind of all that they really can do on this map. And they just suffer for the rest of it because they're either getting napalmed on mid or the intim is chasing them. And it's like if they try and help the fight on the low cap, that can help sometimes, but it's like you've got to be really careful not to get cleaved, which is not so easy on the low cap. So I don't know. I've said enough about Yosemite. It is not a good map. I don't think it should be in the pool. It is not fun to play. You've also got to run like Breakfall 2 or something just to not be eating fall damage constantly. The gems are in an awkward position. Overall, not a fun map in the slightest. It's probably the only one in the pool where not running a rogue is actually viable and probably encouraged. So let's move on to number 10. In 10th place, we have Bridge. Now, maybe it's surprising seeing a remake of an old map coming up here so early, but this map, honestly, is just so unfun to play on. Even back when, its original version, Forest, was in the pool, it was still not a fun map. People did not like playing it. I didn't like playing it for certain. And Bridge is actually a slight downgrade from what Forest was. Because before, Forest was not great for Rangers, and because, you couldn't really get a good vantage point, and generally forest is just not great for anybody other than the rogue. That's what I'll say about it. But nowadays, marksmen have such a strong presence on this map because before on forest, the pathway from the low cap up to the high cap was just like a little hill. It wasn't anything too noteworthy. It was just a little hill. It was kind of annoying to push up, but it was certainly not terrible at all. Like, you would just have to run your D-stance into the ranger, which is so fun, but you know, it still got the job done, and not running a ranger on forest was probably about as good as running one. But on bridge, the hill has been sort of taken out in favor of this monstrosity of a sort of circular circular path to get up to the high point. And what that does is it gives the ranger all of the leverage that they had before and more, because if you're pushing into a ranger with a hold pause knight up top, then that hold pause knight can just drop behind you while the ranger keeps shooting your tanks, and that is just the epitome of unfun gameplay. And even in tank 2v2s, I mean, there's this awful little wall made of leaves that people just get stuck on half the time, and so, I mean, it's just impossible to push a fight effectively, and it's just so unfun. It's like there's also just a river flowing through. Back on Old Forest, the river did have a strong enough presence as well, but on this one, this river is deeper, this river is wider, and if you end up in the water, like, your team lost that fight, guaranteed, in a tank 2v2. And overall, I hate forest with the fire of 1,000 suns. It is not good, or I hate bridge, rather. And the fact that this is a downgrade from what forest was is kind of sad, because aesthetically speaking, bridge does look better, especially now that Blurzy got rid of all the yellow nonsense all over the map. But just the circular path up to the high point makes fighting rangers like 10 times worse, and the river at the low cap is horrendous for tank 2v2s. And it's also a very gem heavy map. If you as a rogue are not getting like into a good cycle with the gems, your team is going to lose. Like, take it from me, I have just recently started practicing rogue, and I went up against Raz, who actually plays rogue a considerable amount, and he got 4,000 gems against me on forest, or on bridge. And dude, it's like, yeah, it's like, do I suck? Yeah, you know, we're working on it. But the fact that for like bridge and gems are just so synced, I guess, in terms of if whoever's winning gems is most likely winning the game, just because fighting is so unfun. But yeah, that's number 10. In 9th place, we have Frosted Basin, and we're officially into the maps that I don't outright hate. I've moved past that with a lot of these, but this map, I don't hate Frosted Basin. It's just that the style that it's built in kind of just already exists with Sakura, which you will see much higher up this list. But Frosted Basin is like Sakura if it was worse in a lot of ways. It's much smaller, and I mean, the gems are in a more awkward place. It's like, the Blurzy has told me before, like, the reason why the gems are where they are is to make it easier for heavies to get them, but, you know, it's usually the rogue getting that gem anyway, and mid-gem is its own issue. I mean, I guess it is easier for a heavy to go up there and get that, but again, the rogue is always going to get that in practice, and it's so much easier for a rogue to just, not even a rogue, just anybody really, to backcap your team's patch, or I guess tent, or whatever it is on this map, and that honestly just makes for less fun gameplay than what we experience on Sakura. And generally, I mean, it's like the towers are nowhere near as fun. You have to like run up all the way to the spawn if you're heavy to go pressure that tower. It's basically just a direct downgrade from what Gully used to be. And this, granted, it is a Gully style map. I don't hate those. I do think that, the water around the mid cap is kind of goofy. You could also just jump onto mid from wherever, whereas with Gully you had to push from one side, and that made it easier to hold. But with Frosted Basin, it's just not as good, and it is Gully but worse, more or less, is what I'm getting at. It's kind of redundant to have in the pool, and they're like 8th place is also going to have this issue. But overall, Frosted Basin, is it a bad map? No. Does another map that's just like been beloved for so long do what it does just infinitely better? Yes, and there is my case on that. Speaking of maps that have other maps do what they do better, we've got Hidden Ruins coming in at 8th place, and this map, like I said, not a bad map. I like it enough, and it's much smaller than its old counterpart, Lost City, which was actually horrendous, but this map, Hidden Ruins, is certainly not as bad. But the issue is, it's kind of just Amazon if it was, like, built a bit better, or, like, more balanced, I guess. And that, I think, inherently does bring down this map a little bit. I think, I like Amazon more, and that's why Hidden Ruins sort of comes down. I do have fun on the map, but Blue Side has an underground point just like Amazon does, and it's like the high point is kind of whatever. It's like Amazon and Pyramid mashed together, because for one thing, if you are the pressuring team, you are never going to be getting that gem. It's just the facts. You will not. Or I guess the defending team, rather. Because, Pyramid, the pressure team, goes and gets your own team's gem. It's kind of weird. It's kind of weird on some certain maps because usually the defense side is what's closer to the gem. But either way, the blue team's side is very similar to that of Amazon's, except with less height, of course. And the red team side, kind of similar as well, just not as unbalanced, I guess. That's going to be certainly something that I get to talk about once we get to Amazon. But overall, the lava on the mid-gem is also another thing. But overall, this map, it's kind of just redundant to have in the pool. It's another one of those that I don't hate. In fact, I enjoy Hidden Ruins quite a bit. But I don't think it should be in the pool, because Amazon, aka Pandora now, does that much better, and that's something that I think the management team should take into consideration. Not that they listen to me. That's kind of a dilemma that they've been having ever since the launch of the league. But overall, Hidden Ruins, again, not a bad map by any means. Looks nice, plays nice, just kind of Amazon 2, where Frosted Basin was Gully 2, just as one good example. So that's my spiel on Hidden Ruins. It's certainly not bad, but kind of not great to have in the pool either. Speaking of Amazon, this map really has its own issues. I will say though, this map gets above Hidden Ruins because I enjoy it more, despite its issues. The red team side is very, very hard to pressure if you are pressuring into a ranger. If you're a blue team on Amazon, good luck pressuring a ranger on the red side. Just because Crater, it's like rangers just permanently have a vantage point. Good luck getting that gem as well. You can get flesh hooked off of it very easy, which does, I think, add some good dynamics to it. It's like the side gems are close enough to mid to where a rogue can definitely out-rotate, and there's some skill in that, and I do like that about the map. But overall, Ranger is just far too oppressive on the red side, and my boys actually built a map to replace Amazon, but there were issues with that one too, and the map lead removed it from the server before letting us fix it, and then the owner banned me from the build server, so that was really cool. And now we get to deal with red side Amazon being infinitely better than blue side, which kind of sucks, but ultimately blue side Amazon also kind of has its own pitfalls, and I don't mean that literally because they have crypt, but Hilltop is not a fun point to try and climb up to if you are the defending team, which, I mean, it's like Hilltop, if you have a ranger, can be annoying if you are the pressuring team, if you're red pressuring Hilltop, of course, but I don't know. I think Amazon, it certainly has its issues that I wish could be worked out, but the community does not seem interested in balancing this map. So, yeah. I mean, do I get more enjoyment out of it than I do Hidden Ruins? Yes, and that is what makes the difference here. But Pandora just has its issues, and I think that it really could use a revamp that, you know, doesn't have such an imbalance in terms of the fun that the teams have, because that can really dictate, you know, who wins the set. If the red team is just like worse but eking by just off of the red side defense holding a double cap the entire game. So it's like that's mostly where I'm at on Pandora. It is a good map in my opinion. It just has its issues, and I think that those issues can be worked out. It's just kind of up to the builders to actually do it. And well, I don't want to call that wishful thinking, but Giza is going to be coming in 6th here. This is a map that I think is more balanced but less enjoyable. And what I mean by that is tank fights are, I mean, you can kind of just run forever. It's kind of hard to catch somebody running away, but generally the map is less fun to play, and that's why it wasn't part of the original 4 in the scrim rotation, being Hidden, Twin, Amazon, and Gully. But Pyramid, aka Giza, I just force a habit, I call it the old maps names, but Giza is, it's another very sin heavy map, and I think that if your assassin, or rogue in this case, is just not performing, then your team loses. And if it's like it's another gem heavy map as well, because there are cases where you can win the sin fights like I did in this round, but just like get into a bad cycle with the gems. It's the same issue that Bridge has, and I think that just makes it far less fun to play, and that I think is just enjoyment of the map, I think, should take precedence. And the enjoyment that I get out of Giza is certainly not as high as some of these other maps. As a as a D-Stance Knight pressuring a Ranger, that can be super unfun. Trying to hold down the Altar Cap, I think is what it's called now, is also not fun if you're pressuring into it, just because you can get knocked off of it so easily, and there's issues with it. And places like Cactus Farm and all that, it's like the map certainly has its unfun parts, but I do think that overall Giza is a fundamentally more balanced map. I just think that maybe if it was a bit bigger, who knows, maybe that could be what makes it better. But overall, Giza is going to take its spot here at 6th, right in the middle. Maybe I'm nostalgia baiting, but starting off our top 5 is going to be Summit, the rework of Twin Peaks. And Twin, to me, has its issues, right? Like, it's a little boring, but Ranger's presence is not as strong, and it's a bigger map. All good, I think. And although pushing into things like Boathouse is not so fun and all of that, and a lot of it is holding down mid if you are the defending heavy, but at the end of the day, I mean, this is a pretty decent map to play champions on, and I like it well enough. It certainly could be better. I will say that. I mean, climbing up the peak and just like being forced to hold mid the whole game if you're the defending heavy is not the most fun, I will say, and the gems are kind of positioned a little awkwardly. There is actually a way to get the gems while staying on the peak if you're capping it. And the way you do this is you just shift on one specific block toward the corner, and that's how you get it. But that, I think, in itself isn't inherently bad. It's just like, I like this map more than the others, is kind of how it gets up this high. Because Twin, to me, it plays differently, which is one refreshing part of it. But does it play better? That's kind of up to interpretation. And yeah, I mean, I think, if Ranger gets sufficiently nerfed, we could see the return of 2 pressuring Stampede Brutes. Like, that was a fun meta to play in, and I think was more skillful than just climb the peak with defensive stance and, I don't know, just hope your Ranger isn't running Explosive Arrow and that sort of deal. But yeah, overall, I mean, I think that there are a couple tweaks that could be made. One big thing is making it easier to get into Boathouse. I believe that my boys made this map, right? And they added another way to get into Boathouse from underneath it, but I don't know if that's still there. I know that Blurzy has laid his fingers on their map a good few times, and I don't know if that little tunnel is still there, but if it is, could be good for sending like one person down there, and I don't even know where it starts though, so we'll have to see. Maybe next time I play Twin as a heavy I can do that, but for now though, I like Twin. It has some flaws. Also for Rangers, the side that is on Avalanche side, or Glacier side I guess, is certainly at a disadvantage compared to Windmill side, because you can peak hop much easier with rope there like that. But I think all things considered, a couple things could be tweaked, but Twin overall, good map. A lot of flat ground to fight on. Before Super Flat was added, it was the de facto Brute 1v1 map, so it's still fun for heavies. Just kind of what I'm getting at. Alright, now we're getting into the maps that I can definitively say are very, very good, and we're going to be starting off with Evergreen. Now, this is a rework of a map called Eden, which is a map that was very popular, actually, when it was still on the server, and there was talk that it could be in rotation if a few tweaks were made, like, because Ranger was a little too strong on it, for example, but what ended up happening was Blurzy reworked the entire map, and now this is what it looks like. And I personally think it's very good. I think that this map, kind of a sleeper pick for one of the best in the pool. I think that, if we were going to get rid of any map in the pool, I would say probably throw out, like, Forest, or I guess Bridge is what it's called now. Throwing anything out from the OG pool, rather. I would throw out Bridge, and I would put this in, because this map is honestly a lot more fun. It's like the gems are kind of in an iffy location. Am I a fan of it? Not really. Dwarf Toss is exceedingly strong on this map to the point where if you're not running it, you are probably not going to be getting your gems consistently. But overall, for a map like this, I mean, it's small. A Sin can rotate very, very quickly, rotate well. The restocks are in a pretty good position, and there's a definitive low and high cap. You can hold low grounds when you're pushing up to the high cap, that sort of deal. If you are pressuring, or I guess that would be defending, wouldn't it? I don't know. It's still a little confusing. The spawn, I think, could use some work. I think that if it was a little easier to get out the left side, that would be very nice. But still, or at least put the spawns closer to the left side, because I don't even know what the spawn looks like. I just know that I run out of the right side every time. But mid gem is in a good enough position. It's kind of like bridge if it was good, because you can pressure the ranger much easier. It's not like a circular hill formation. You can actually just walk up and pressure the ranger and have a good time doing it, or as good of a time as you could have pressuring a ranger. But even still, it is a good map. I think that the caps are far enough away from each team's spawn, just overall a good thing. And sort of the mid cap, I think, is also in a good position. Overall, very good map. I just think that the gems being where they are, it's like I had to tell Blurzy to add the parkour with the ladders up to the gem, because, bro, it was not possible for a heavy to get that prior to that, but now you can, and I guess it's just Dwarf Toss Simulator, so wasn't really much of an improvement. I don't know. I think it is regardless, but still. That's my take on it. Evergreen, very good map, probably the best new map that has ever been added. I think that, if one more map on its caliber were to be added, we could, scrap like Forest and maybe Pyramid, and then toss 2 new maps in, and there you go. You have a really good 7-map pool. So I don't know. Personally, I think the best size for the map pool should be 7, so that way map striking can work the best, but maybe that's just me. Either way, Evergreen taking 4th place. Coming in 3rd, we have what might be a hot take. I personally really like Eldritch, the remake of Excavation Camp. It's kind of plain, I guess. It's kind of like a blank canvas of a map. It's kind of just, you can do sort of whatever works on it. And I think that's great for teaching new players. I think that if a new player was going to learn just the core mechanics of Conquest, I would say Eldritch would be the map to have them play on, hold down a side, learn how, the rogue is going to rotate, for example, and like fight a ranger, fight with a ranger, all the sort of things that you need to know to get into this game. Of course, hidden would be better for like an actual test, but for something like this, I personally really like Eldritch, and it's a definitive top 3 map. That might be a hot take. I know that there's people that don't like it. There's people that have played it 10 million times and kind of understandably find it boring now, but I like it, and that's my take. That's it's kind of just, it's very flat. You can fight effectively. Pushing up to the points is not excruciatingly hard, and even fighting a ranger is not that bad. And the gem is also in a good spot. The defending team should reasonably get their gem every time, unless the Sin hops it, or they're on the other cap and just sort of leave it up there for a while. But either way, I think that Eldritch is a very good map. I think is it plain? Yeah, but do I still like it? Also, yeah, because it's like, even though it doesn't have anything that is really, really good going for it, it is still, it's sort of like it doesn't have anything detracting from it, and a lot of these other maps do. So it's like, that's what gets Eldritch up this high. I think that just sort of, it's a good map to learn the game on, and anything can really work on it. And that's sort of my take on it. Maybe it's a hot take to have Eldritch in the top 3, but that's how I feel about it. Coming in 2nd place, we have Western Hills, which is the remake of Hidden Valley. The 1-to-1 remake of Hidden Valley, actually. A couple tweaks, of course, but, still, Hidden Valley. Anytime somebody says hidden, they're referring to this and not Hidden Ruins, so just a heads up. But this map, Western Hills, is, it was kind of redundant to have made because Chernobyl was right there, but I don't know. It's like I said about Pandora, community just really loves those 1-to-1 remakes, and this is no different. That being said, this map does get all the way to number 2 because it is, like I said, a reskin of the objective best sides map. And what that means is, 2 sides, and mid, of course, like tank 2v2s on the sides, and then Sin's fighting mid, that sort of deal. And that's kind of where that ends up. I mean, it's a very high skill ceiling map, I guess. You've got to know how to play for mid gem, of course. If you're a rogue and the other rogue has a bow and is bow spamming you off of mid gem, then it kind of gets a little bit sus. But even still, it's like knowing when to go for gems, knowing how to cap, knowing how to play around things like bulwark and cleave and all that is like, it definitely takes skill. And knowing how to hold down your caps, it's like, this is the map where you can really learn the intricacies of champions. And I think that in itself makes it a very good map. And overall, I mean, everybody loves this map. It is really, really good, and it's the perfect size. It's not too big, it's not too small. There are 2 caps that are sort of out of range of a ranger, unless the ranger, of course, comes down to those caps, but at that point, you have bigger things to worry about. So overall, Western Hills, the remake of Hidden Valley, I think is a very, very good map. I would give it like a 9.5 out of 10. It is very, very good. And all things considered, amazing map to learn the game on, just like Eldritch. So that's that. Coming in first place is Sakura, and this is also why I feel so strongly about Frosted Basin being in the pool, because this map is about as close to perfect as it gets. It is certainly not the same as a lot of the other maps, in that the team fights are 3 versus 3 with your heavies, while your ranger is on your tower and your rogue is rotating around trying to kill the other team's ranger and get mid gem. While, the 2, I guess, quote-unquote side gems are for the ranger to go get. And that just makes the most fun playing experience. I mean, pushing onto mid it can be tough sometimes. It's like a good team will be able to hold that cap down and do well, but I mean, it's really just super fun. It's constant, non-stop fighting, and that, I think, is what people love about Champions. I mean, it really shows you how to use your abilities, it builds up that game sense, and really just, it's just the most fun that you can have on any of these maps, and I think that counts for a lot. It's also very well made. It is kind of difficult for a rogue to, get in the heavy team fight and then also go off and kill the ranger. But, it's just, it's super fun to play Gully, and a lot of people share that sentiment. It used to not get played a whole lot in ranked because anytime somebody had the better ranger, it would get struck, because it is a pretty ranger heavy map, but not to the point where you have to run deep stance. That is an important part of it. Not having to run guard position, as it's called now, is honestly really fun, because both kits get the best of both worlds. Like the ranger gets to shoot and put in damage, and the knights just get to fight other heavies instead of having to push up into a ranger. And that is a big part of why Gully is so popular. And overall, yeah, I mean, it's like I was saying, it used to not get a lot of playtime because it was pretty ranger heavy, but now that the CCL management team has removed map bans for some reason, I really couldn't tell you what's going on with that, but ever since then, Gully has been getting played more, and that counts for a lot. So yeah, I mean, I just really like it. It is an amazing map and the most fun map in my opinion. But that's my take for all of these CCL maps. New maps get added from time to time, and sometimes they're good, like Evergreen, sometimes they're not so good, like Yosemite, but, one can dream that we'll get a healthy map pool with no bad maps in it. So, until that day comes, I don't know what else to say. I just hope that it does someday, but that kind of sums it all up. So, that's going to wrap up, and I'll be back for probably ranked CCL number 62 tomorrow.